to the big story back home, because our focus tonight is on an issue that should concern each and every one of us. Has the coronavirus curve in India flattened, or are we on the brink of a fresh spike? In the last 24 hours, 48,648 active cases, less than 50,000 registered in a day. Recovery rates have now gone up to 91.15%. Deaths 121,090, and the mortality rate is around 1.4%, where it has been for the last couple of weeks. The top 5 states, though, remain the troublesome ones. Maharashtra, where the active cases are 1,27,603. Kerala, where it's 91,786. Karnataka, where it is 64,480. Bengal, 37,994. And Delhi, 30,952. And these 5 states at the moment are accounting for more than 50% of the total cases. Today, we are going to raise that big question then. Has the coronavirus curve flattened? Is the worst over? Or are we in for a fresh spike as the festive season and winter begins? Let me introduce my guest tonight, the country's top doctor, Dr. Randeep Guleria, Director at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, is joining us, and also Dr. Jaiprakash Mulyal, the country's leading epidemiologist. Thank you both very much for joining us. Before I come to you, I want to play this story about what exactly is happening in terms of the fact that while there is an all India decline in daily cases, in parts of the country, especially in the national capital, the cases are spiking. What does this really mean? Are we seeing the coronavirus infection now getting increasingly localized? Today, Delhi reported a record 5,891 cases in a single day. Is the worst over for India, or are we yet to see it? Milan Sharma reports.
India is witnessing mixed returns in its battle against coronavirus. First, the good news. After touching almost 1 lakh daily cases in mid-September, there is a consistent decline in new cases. On Friday, the country saw less than 50,000 daily cases for the 4th day in a row. Now the bad news. The national capital has seen a sudden surge in coronavirus cases. Many are asking if Delhi is facing a third wave.
मुझे लगता है कि एक हफ्ता अभी वेट कर लीजिए, तब बता सकते हैं ट्रेंड क्या है. तो अभी थोड़ा जल्दी होगा कि तीसरा वेव क्या ना, पर हो भी सकता है. अभी जैसे त्योहारों का सीजन है, थोड़ा सर्दी भी है, और एक हमने स्ट्रेटजी चेंज करी कि भी जो भी पॉजिटिव आता है उसकी पूरी फैमिली को और उसके क्लोज कॉन्टैक्ट्स को सबको टेस्ट कर रहे हैं. और एक बारी नहीं, हम 2-2 बारी भी कर रहे हैं. 4-5 दिन के बाद दोबारा भी कर रहे हैं.
The centre has already issued an alert in view of the festivities. The rising pollution due to stubble burning has only added to the woes.
This virus particle gets adsorbed on the surface of the particulate matter. When we inhale a lot of particulate matter, which is all infected with this virus, the virus goes deep inside the lungs. So virus actually uses particulate matter as a carrier and gets access to depths of lung, and we have infection lying inside for longer period, so you have higher chance of person getting infected.
The festive season is a concern for Maharashtra as well, though the state has seen a consistent drop in numbers.
Of late, we are seeing a downward trend in COVID patients all over India, but with the exception of New Delhi, which showed a surge in the cases, and I think there was a single all-day high recorded a few days earlier.
The number of cases in the national capital, which have now been rising exponentially once again after witnessing a dip. And the Delhi state government has said that they are taking all precautions, but ultimately it's the citizen that also needs to be careful, because the coronavirus has still not gone away. With Waqar Ahmed, this is Milan Sharma for India Today.
So let's raise that big question. Is the worst over, or are we heading for another coronavirus spike? As I said, I'm joined by Dr. Randeep Guleria, the country's top doctor, AIIMS director, and Dr. Jaiprakash Mulyal is the country's top epidemiologist. Dr. Guleria, to you first. Are we witnessing, as the cases rise, daily cases in Delhi, a fresh spike in the national capital, which may not necessarily be the case across the country? Are we seeing a localized spike, of coronavirus in few parts of the country, Kerala, Maharashtra, Delhi?
Yes, definitely. We're seeing a local spike occurring in areas where multiple factors have come into play. And I think one of the important factors is that there has been crowding in these areas without COVID appropriate behavior. You rightly said that this is partly related to the festive season, partly related to the fact that there are elections happening in the neighborhood as far as Delhi is concerned. And of course, the cold weather, which also leads to the virus surviving for a longer time in the environment and people crowding inside the houses because of this cold weather. But in Delhi, we're seeing a significant rise in the number of cases, and there is an urgent need to sort of take appropriate actions to bring that down.
Now, there are two views, Dr. Guleria. One is that because testing has increased, therefore the number of cases are rising in parts of the country like Delhi or Kerala. The other view, as you said, is because we are now on the onset of another round of festivities and winter is also on its way. That's the reason for the rise. What's your view? Is it a combination of both?
So possibly, but I think it's more likely to be related to the fact that there's the festive season is there. People have got into a COVID fatigue, and wearing masks or physical distancing has become much less than what it was in the early part of the pandemic when we had the lockdown. All of this is actually leading to a higher chance of the virus spreading. The environment is also conducive to this. And therefore, I think testing is not playing that much of a role because testing has been significantly high for the last few weeks or months, and the cases were much higher then. So I don't think it's that much related to testing. I think it's more related to our own behavior and the crowding that's happening.
Interesting. Let me go to you, Dr. Jaiprakash Mulyal, because India's coronavirus cases have crossed the 8 million mark. We are the world's second worst country now, but the number of new cases per day are around less than 50,000. As against the peak of about 90,000 in the month of September per day. Can we say the worst is over because the number of new infections are dropping, Dr. Mulyal?
Well, that expression, the worst is over, I will agree with. But remember, the numbers primarily reflect what is happening in our urban areas. So the situation is very, very promising.
You know, it's interesting you're saying that the worst is over and the situation is very promising. What do you mean? Because as I said, people are still worried about the fact that, let's say in a city like Delhi, we are witnessing a sudden spike in COVID cases, and this has led to worries there could be a second wave, Dr. Mulyal.
Well, I don't know what the waves mean. We have ups and downs in cases being reported, and there are reasons for it. Mm-hmm. Our society is a very, very multifaceted society, shall I say. Mm-hmm. Some live in a network where they are more vulnerable to infection. Mm-hmm. Other networks are less vulnerable. So these kind of a situation produces uneven incidence over time. Mm-hmm. So that's exactly what we are seeing. Mm-hmm. If you look at Tamil Nadu, it has been steadily coming down. Mm-hmm. And certain parts, it is doing that. These ups and downs are only natural. Mm-hmm. Please remember, the number of cases is only a fraction of the total infection that is going on. To know the true infection, you have to multiply the number of cases by a factor of 25 or 30. So I suggest that you call it ripples rather than waves.
You know, you're making a very important point. Just let me push you on that. You are telling me today, the country's top epidemiologists telling me actual number of people infected with coronavirus in India is 20 to 25 times more than the reported cases. 8 million reported. You're telling me 20 times more, 160 million Indians at the moment are affected?
Absolutely. How do I know this? Mm-hmm. It's from the serological studies we have been doing. And that shows the true magnitude of infection.
You know, before I come back to Dr. Guleria, let me push the epidemiologists. You are telling me, therefore, that with 160 million people affected, 20 to 25 times more than those who have reported corona, does that mean we are reaching what we have spoken about in the past, Dr. Mulyal? The possibility of herd immunity slowly settling in, that we could have enough number of Indians now who already are immune to coronavirus?
I'm happy you remembered that. Yes.
Yes, so you are telling me what you told me a few months ago. We could be on our verge of reaching herd immunity. Are we on our way towards it? Is that what you're saying?
Rajdeep, this particular country is a very complex country. And if you take section by section, area by area, there are certain areas which have already reached the herd immunity level. In other words, the new cases have fallen to single digits or less. There are other areas newly entering into the new infection rate. So it's a complex thing. And then you finally look at one graph, it is not clear. But predominantly, majority of the big cities have come up to high levels of immunity. So we are very fast approaching what we can recognize as a herd immunity, where the disease transmission comes down to so low level, it will hardly be discernible. It will cease to be a public health issue.
Okay, let me take that to Dr. Guleria, because Dr. Mulyal is saying, A, worst is over. We could be on the verge of herd immunity in several parts of the country. And therefore, in a sense, this completely changes the way we approach coronavirus. Do you agree with what Dr. Mulyal is saying, Dr. Guleria, that we could be on the verge of herd immunity, that 20 to 25 times more Indians could actually be infected in some form or the other with corona than the actual figures being reported?
So the number of people who get infected are much more than the number who are tested positive. And we know that because we know there are a large number of people who are asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic and don't get themselves tested. But when we do a serosurveillance, we will find that they have antibodies. It's difficult to put a number as to what is the exact number. Also, as has been said, it is our country is very variable. You may say that you may have a good amount of people who have had the infection in areas which saw a huge surge in the beginning, which is especially the urban areas where crowding was much more, the so-called urban slums. There one would argue that yes, there is possibility that there are a large number of people there have had the infection and have immunity to some extent. But there are two very important issues to keep in mind. One is that there are large parts of the country where we still don't have that much of herd immunity or people having had the infection. The serosurveillance showed a wide variation in different parts of the country. And the second part is we don't know how long this immunity lasts. There have been now a lot of cases of reinfection being reported from across the world. Therefore, to say that we've got infected once and we are now protected for a long time would be a little premature.
Is that what worries you, Dr. Guleria, that you are pointing towards reinfection? You're pointing towards your concern that as the festive season and winter approaches, there could be a spike in cases again. What do you therefore recommend? I want to understand from you at a time like this, what do you recommend? Because as you also said earlier, there is an element of COVID fatigue that's setting in.
So what I would recommend is that we need to really work aggressively to see that we continue with this downward trend and we don't become complacent, especially considering the fact that we have 3 or 4 factors which are against us. One is that we have the festive season going on and there are people who start going to shops, crowding, and we don't want that any of these events where there is crowds because of the festive season or because of markets being crowded becoming a super spreading event. And this could be something that could have happened in Delhi, leading to the spike in the number of cases. Secondly, we know that we will have a winter in the north part of the country, and the cold air leads to an increasing number of cases or spikes in respiratory viral infections. This has also been seen in Europe, and therefore we need to be really vigilant in terms of the number of cases happening in this part of the country. So, as we've already mentioned, air pollution is something which we also need to factor in. You've already shown that air pollution is itself another factor which can increase both the number of cases and the severity of cases, because air pollution per se also leads to inflammation in the lungs leading to a higher chance of more severe cases.
So so you see a direct correlation between the onset of winter and a rise in cases, especially in North India. Am I correct? That winter is a particularly dangerous time for corona. We are seeing it in Europe. We could well see it in India.
Yes, so if you look at the data, and there is data for other respiratory viral infections, especially from influenza, which shows that in India and tropical countries, we have two spikes as far as the data from the ICMR's flu network also shows. One is during the monsoon months and the other is during the winter months. And therefore, during winters, we see an increase in the number of respiratory viral infections, and COVID is also a respiratory viral infection which is occurring. So therefore, there is a higher chance of this happening. And that is why I'm stressing that we need to be very vigilant and take aggressive measures so that this downward trend is maintained and we don't see a rise in number of cases in the next few weeks.
Okay, you're in a sense giving me a very different perspective to Dr. Mulyal. You're warning us against being complacent. You're telling us that be careful, especially as winter comes. Dr. Mulyal, what will your policy prescription be going ahead? Are you saying it's time to fully open up, not be worried now about the fact that there could be these spikes every now and then in cities like Delhi? We just opened up in the belief that, or should we completely open up because a level of herd immunity has been achieved? Your policy prescription.
The best way to protect oneself is to be cautious at individual level. Okay, the strategy should be people want to protect themselves and the rules have already been laid out and that should continue. There will be transmission despite all that because individuals find it extremely difficult to be cautious for such a long time because it's against our humanness, human behavior. So gradually what happens is even people who thought they were living very carefully, protected environment, their bubble also get infected somehow or other, and then more and more will come to get infected. The point is, some can afford to be living in isolation, protected, because they can afford it. I think they should. Similarly, elderly people who are at risk of bad consequences, they should also continue to be cautious. But the level of infection has traveled so much, and the country's economy is also in trouble. I think we should now start focusing on economic recovery. Otherwise, it will be a mistake.
So you are clearly saying, Dr. Mulyal, that in the balance between lives and livelihoods, we may have reached that stage in your view that the focus should be primarily now on saving livelihoods while individuals ensure they remain as protected as they possibly can. Am I correct?
That is correct. That is practical, and that is the only scientifically proven method of reducing transmission, that you wear mask, you avoid crowd, you keep hygiene. That's the way to go.
The reason I'm asking you this, Dr. Mulyal, is that 5 states, Kerala, West Bengal, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Delhi, now account for 50% of the new COVID cases. Has the virus, therefore, over time, in your view, become more and more localized in India? And is that the pattern that we are increasingly witnessing in states like Kerala, which initial days had registered few cases? Now they've got a spike in the last 2 months, that the virus goes up and down across the country. Is that a pattern that we should now get used to? Different states at different times will see spikes.
Correct. However, remember, the virus has a pattern. If there are susceptibles available, it will get transmitted, it will infect more people. The proportion of susceptibles are higher in Kerala at the moment, so you expect more new cases. In many other states, the susceptible proportion has been dwindling. So naturally, the virus goes out of steam. So you will find less and less cases. So you will see Tamil Nadu, in most districts, the cases are coming down, including the city of Chennai. So that is right. It cannot be one homogeneous pattern because we are a heterogeneous country.
You know, it comes down, therefore, Dr. Guleria, again to how much do we open up? is this the moment? We are now entering the crucial months of November and December. There is pressure in Mumbai, for example, to open up local trains. Delhi has already opened up its metros. Do you believe that each state now will need to look very carefully at how much they can open up in these 2 months of November and December? Would you be advocating, encouraging people to go out more and more now and use public transport?
We have to open up the economy and even the public transport. That has to happen. Livelihood is very important, but it has to be done with a little bit of tempered measures in terms of physical distancing, in terms of wearing your mask, in terms of hand hygiene. And if we do that, I think we can succeed. As a matter of fact, if you look at data from the surrounding countries and from Southeast Asia, even from Taiwan, Vietnam, and South Korea, they have not seen a spike in number of cases because they've managed to have their economy back, but have done it in a manner that every citizen has realized his or her responsibility, and the cases have not spiked there, as compared to what we've seen in Europe or in the US. So therefore, we need to really have a balance of having individuals understanding their responsibility, trying to do it in a proper manner, and like you rightly said, look at it from region to region, from state to state. The pandemic has behaved differently in different parts of the world. In India, if you remember the early days, it was limited to major cities. We didn't see it in tier 2 cities or in rural India. It has now moved on to those areas. So the pandemic will move from one area to the other, and we will have to develop strategies which are more regional rather than at a national level. And this will also include opening up the economy or taking measures as far as containment zones or other things are concerned if we have a huge number of cases in a certain region or certain area where there is a sudden spike in the number of COVID cases.
But would you say, Dr. Guleria, that the worst is over?
So I am quite hopeful that the worst is over, but like I said, a lot depends on individual behavior. There are certain areas in our country where we still haven't had that much of infection, or there is still a large part of the population which is susceptible, and we need to work on trying to keep them protected and making sure that there's no sudden spike in number of cases as far as these areas are concerned until we have an effective vaccine.
You know, Dr. Mulial, you've in this program given our viewers some reassurance that you believe we are moving towards herd immunity. Isn't there a fear, though, that while we talk of herd immunity, you're seeing what's happening in Europe and the United States? Countries in Europe are witnessing second wave. Some countries like US are witnessing what people are calling a third wave. Therefore, should we be very cautious while discussing herd immunity until the vaccine actually comes out? Till then, we can't take anything for granted. We can't really talk about living with the virus because the virus is still very much around.
I never recommended herd immunity. Herd immunity is not a target. It will just arrive whether you like it or not. You don't want to believe in it or you don't want to accept it, that's your problem. But it will arrive. Because we have been going containment. And what happened? The virus kept spreading and spreading and spreading. All I am saying is, given all our effort, it has spread. But on that level, brighter side is, eventually, without our intending to get it, we are going to acquire sufficient immunity where the disease transmission come down. That's not my invention. That's not my brilliant idea. It is a known scientific fact. That's what nature has provided. You want to take benefit of it? Please do.
You know, let me ask you though, Dr. Mulial, therefore, would you say you are more optimistic about the future than you were, let's say, 6 months ago? Would you therefore say that the pandemic situation in India is under control, given that even fatality rates are going down as recovery rates continue to rise? The curve has finally flattened, or is the situation still fragile, Dr. Mulial?
That's a longish question, but I'm more optimistic than I was at the beginning about the question of immunity. There is a lot of story that the immunity induced by coronavirus is not good. Where they got the idea from, I have no idea. Because It is also another virus, and the virus have a way of behaving in. Now I'm convinced that the immunity you acquire after natural infection is absolutely good. In fact, people who have had the past infection, in general, don't have to worry about reinfection or disease. There are stories appearing, I agree with you, but the mainstream story should be, I have had measles, I won't get it again. I have had chickenpox, I won't get it again. I have had corona, I won't get it again. You can be confident. Will there be exception? Yeah, a few exceptions will be there, but by and large, those people, I say it particularly because there are a lot of people exploiting patients who have had COVID in the past by frightening them they're going to get it again. That's not true. That's unfair. So on the whole, I'm more confident. I think we will soon be approaching the end of this epidemic.
You know, Dr. Guleria, one concern, and we voiced this a couple of weeks ago when you were on the show, is people are finding after getting coronavirus and recovering, while they may not get a reinfection, what they are finding is other parts of their body system get affected, lungs in particular, but also in some instances heart. Are you getting more and more such cases at the moment? Or do you believe that, is there a pattern that you are detecting that coronavirus patients find, in a sense, that their immunity after a point to other possible ailments actually is not so strong?
I think there are two or three parts to this question. The first is what is known as long COVID or post-COVID sequelae. And now we're realizing that COVID or coronavirus is unlike other viruses. It can lead to a significant systemic effects and long COVID effects. It's been reported now well in the literature, and some studies even suggest that some of these manifestations may occur in 60 to 70% of patients, but they usually tend to wear off in the next 6 to 8 weeks. However, there are some individuals who have extensive scarring of the lung, known as lung fibrosis. Some of them have damage to the heart muscles, leading to low ejection fractions. We already have had patients who had strokes and have damage to the brain. So COVID can lead to a significant residual effects. In the majority, these effects are usually mild in the form of body aches, fatigue, persisting dry cough, or joint pains. Some individuals have reported what is known as chronic fatigue syndrome occurring in patients after COVID, and some sort of what has been known as brain fog, that people are not able to concentrate and not able to work as efficiently as in the past. So COVID does lead to some sequelae. Secondly, unlike other viruses, COVID is a respiratory viral infections, and we know that large number of viral infections tend to have some mild mutation, and they therefore are at times predisposed to infection occurring again at some point in time. The classical example is influenza. Every year we get flu and we again get it again next year because the virus keeps changing. And despite taking a regular vaccine, the flu shot, we still have to take it every year because the influenza virus goes through what is known as an antigenic drift, and sometimes it also goes through what is known as an antigenic shift. And therefore, viruses are known to keep evolving and changing, especially respiratory viruses. And therefore, one cannot really say confidently that if you have had infection once, you can never get it before. However, once you get COVID infection, you should be protected for a number of months and hopefully for a much longer period of time. But we need to have more data to be really sure that how long you are protected and whether everyone is equally protected or not. Because when we start looking at antibody titers, we find a wide variation in the antibody titers in people who have recovered. And we find that if you serially follow them up, and we've been doing that in a large number of our patients, the antibody titers actually start falling after about 3 to 4 months. So we need more data to show, is it only antibody titers? Is it related to what we call cell-mediated immunity, T cells, and are the memory cells still strong enough to really give us an immune response if we get infected again? But there are reports in the literature emerging of reinfection, and we need to be a little cautious about how this virus will behave in the coming months or years. And that is what is an area of ongoing research.
One very quick final answer. We are seeing in Bihar, Dr. Guleria, lots of rallies being held where people are not wearing masks. A number of politicians have contracted COVID who have been on the campaign in Bihar. Does that worry you at one level that masks are not being worn as effectively across the country. In Mumbai today, the BMC has now said they will put out stiff penalties for those caught without masks. Is that at the end of the day still a big challenge to ensure people observe the basic rules?
Yes, I think so, because until we have a vaccine to protect yourself and others in the community, masks are something which is very, very important. As a matter of fact, there are data which suggests that you could decrease the infection rate by almost 30 to 40% if everyone wore a mask sincerely. And we saw that in various parts of Asia where people have been wearing masks regularly and the cases have really not gone up. Therefore, whether it be Bihar or any other parts, any activity where there are going to be crowds, where there are going to be people collecting, and if we are not going to be wearing masks while we're talking to each other, we're actually inviting the virus to really come and spread in our community. And if there are susceptible people, there is going to be a huge surge in the number of cases in the coming weeks.
I think that's a cautionary note that you've given, one of the statutory warnings in a way, that while we can possibly be hopeful about, as Dr. Mulyal says, an element of herd immunity or indeed the number of daily active cases coming down, the worst may be over, but we don't know what the future will hold. Dr. Guleria and Dr. Mulyal, as always, a pleasure talking to top doctors and epidemiologists on the show tonight. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.